we're sad inside.
I think the first thing we would probably do is talk about the good, because the majority of the movie is probably going to be about the bad.
Yeah.
Just like every other review you've probably listened to
or
or seen or anything like that. So talking about the good
Yeah.
would probably be a good start. I would start with Zack Snyder.
Good job, Zack Snyder.
Excellent job as far as visuals,
As usual.
cinematics. Everything was spot on. Beautiful. Suits were perfect. Costume design was amazing. Visual effects, obviously, like I just said. Can't say it enough. It was fantastic, just like all those movies.
That 10 minutes of credits we had to watch with all the people, too. A lot of good people.
Yeah, there was a lot of visual effects people behind that.
It was pretty crazy.
So
The bad?
no, I mean, you got to talk about. I mean, we got to throw Ben Affleck in the good because
Okay, so-
I mean, Ben Affleck did fantastic as Batman.
Let me be the first one to say I was wrong. He was good.
Easily one of the best Batmans.
Easily one of the best Batmans.
Easily better than George Clooney.
Well, I don't even think that was ever in the
I don't know,
running.
man. I'll even go so far as to say I liked him better than Christian Bale. Okay, how about this? As Bruce Wayne, he was a better Bruce Wayne.
I agree. Which, I mean, you didn't see as much of the playboy philanthropist type of thing.
Yeah, but
going on,
I mean, there was still spoiler alert. By the way,
spoilers up
We're
the
going to call
wazoo.
out spoiler alerts right now because this is going to be completely reviewing the entire movie. So, spoiler alert. Turn it off if you don't like it. Come back and watch it after you're done watching the movie.
I did like that they added a lot of little teasers and stuff in there, like the. I'm going to go off track in a few minutes, but basically they had a lot of cool little things in there that get me excited for future movies. Whether they're good or not, different question, but there was a lot of material that you're like, oh, I recognize that character, or oh, I know what storyline that's going to be in eventually. So that was cool. He was very dedicated to the fan, which is great, because we're the fans and we love that So that was cool.
Alfred.
Oh, best Alfred.
Best Alfred.
Best Alfred.
And that's saying something because there's been a lot of good Alfreds.
There has.
But this Alfred, the way they depicted him, to me, was a better Alfred because he's more like what we were talking about is he's like Lucius Fox and Alfred put together. He's basically running behind the scenes for Batman.
Yeah.
He's controlling everything. Like every time Batman needs something, it's Alfred that's there to help him.
Oh, I need to jump out of
He's even going so far as to repair Batman's vehicle.
Yeah.
Like he's in there with wrenches and like, oh yeah, just taking care of business here. Let me just fix your
working the computer and being like, oh, there's 3 enemies on the 3rd floor. Like, yeah, no other Alfred in any other movie has been that in depth. I mean, they be his butler, take care of make sure stuff's like clean his suits, like mundane things. This one, he's like in the with Batman.
Jeremy Irons, right?
Yeah, Jeremy
Irons, fantastic job.
Keep it up. I liked it.
Beginning, you have, Bruce Wayne basically trying to explain the backstory as to why he's upset with Superman, which pretty much didn't explain anything more than we already knew from the trailers.
Yeah.
It was mostly just, Bruce Wayne's, running into the smoke of the buildings that are falling down. But the extra stuff that they showed, like, the actual scenes from Man of Steel where Superman is destroying the buildings and things like that. Like that, it
perfectly entwined.
Perfect. The way they did it, I mean, Bruce Wayne gets right down to business. He's rescuing people or whatever. It was depicted very well. I totally...
I felt like Ben Affleck's anger when he's just holding this kid and looking up at the sky at Superman like, you, Superman.
You are going to die. Like he did a very good job there.
When you can feel somebody's emotion through the film, then you know it's good. And yeah, I love the fact that everyone else is running one way, and he, as Bruce Wayne, is running this way, and he's like, "I'm gonna save people." It was great. Like I love that. I thought that was so. It just showed that even as Bruce Wayne, he was still kick-ass, which is great.
Yep.
They didn't go too much into his parents dying because we've all seen that a million times in like every which way possible. Nice little cameos by Jeffrey Dean Morgan and the chick that plays Maggie on Walking Dead. So that was kind of cool. Brief and short and simple.
Yeah.
I did have a slight problem with that little quote-unquote dream sequence where the bats are, like, helping him fly out of the pit.
At first I was like, this better be a dream.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me if this is actually happening. Like, they're creating, like, a wind tunnel that's carrying him up into the sky.
And he's just like, I am Magneto.
And yeah, exactly. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, and that was, like, he says something like, that's how it happened, or whatever.
He's like, that's how I imagined it.
That's how I imagined it, or whatever, when the bats brought out the Batman or something.
Great visual, mind you, but for somebody that's supposed to be afraid of bats.
It was very similar to the Christian Bale one, when Christian Bale finally, like, stands up and the bats are swarming around him. It was the kind of same concept.
But he was also terrified of bats. Which, I mean, they kind of went over in this one, because a giant, like, in one... Oh my god. So many dream sequences in this movie that you're going to be like...
We're still in the good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's so hard.
I know.
Okay.
Action scenes were good. Very little of them, though, unfortunately.
A lot of character development, we'll say it that way.
A lot of character development.
A lot of character development. 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of character development.
Yeah. All right. So we've gotten enough of the good out of the way. We'll kind of get working on the bad.
Why did the Kryptonians, aka the Zod and everyone, why did they have kryptonite cores on their terraformers? Like, if you have something that could kill you in each of your ships that's trying to terraform your planet, you don't think that you would be like, cool, so let me just stockpile that.
The only thing that I'm curious about is in their ship they had the climate of Krypton.
Correct.
So if you are in the climate of Krypton and you have Kryptonian rocks, like kryptonite, on the ship, does it affect you like it does on Earth? Or does it have no effect? Because technically the rock comes from Krypton.
That's true.
So if you're in the atmosphere of Krypton, then
you would assume it would be fine.
It wouldn't affect you, right?
I guess that makes sense. That makes sense. I'll accept that.
Either way, why are they carrying rocks with them? But still, beside the point.
Yeah. So after that, then Lex gets permission to basically go into Zod's ship as well as experiment and take Zod's old body. And he's like, well, cool.
Because the U.S. government has Zod's body, because Superman would be totally okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, and let's just build a building around this ship that's sitting in the middle of Metropolis, because that's totally okay to make it a landmark. You'd assume Superman...
It wasn't even a landmark. It was Zod's ship that crashed is in the middle of Metropolis. Like, in the middle. And they build this white tent building thing around it. And they're doing, tests and on the ship.
Because that's okay.
Because that's totally cool. And Superman's totally fine with it. Because he wants to suck their so bad.
He's like, I want acceptance.
U.S. government, I want you to love me, so do whatever the you want. Take Zod's body, do whatever you want with it. Oh, by the way, that was the reason they discovered that kryptonite was a thing.
Yeah.
Which is the whole reason that was happening. So, the U.S. government, because they over Superman.
It's okay, they got what's coming to them because they all blew up, which kind of sucked too. So, Jesse Eisenberg, I had my reservations about as Lex.
He actually did a very good job.
He did.
Throwing it back to the good, I was very surprised as to how well he did his schizophrenic character. Yeah. Which I've never seen Lex Luthor be portrayed that way before. Yeah. Because he was schizophrenic. He'd have some weird twitch or something.
And get hella angry and then go back to being happy.
Bipolar, and then, I don't know. It was an interesting take on him, but I was okay with it. It wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was interesting. I feel like at points he was a little overly eccentric, and it kind of was more bordering on I don't know. Lex, I feel, is very calm and collective, and there were certain points that he was not calm and collective, which, I mean, granted, situation in the movie, totally understandable, but he just came off more Joker, or not even Jokery, Riddler.
He did come off Jokery, though.
It was weird.
I got that feeling.
But yeah, it wasn't bad, but I feel like his plot to frame Superman and then blow up, blame that on Superman too. It's and then Superman, all he can say is, well, I was there at both events that happened, but it wasn't me. Which kind of, I mean, whatever. It was just, it seemed like I get the plot and I get you're trying to basically make Superman the bad guy, But he already everybody was pretty much split on it anyway. And then half the movie they're
You
talking
didn't really
about...
have to do much.
No, and half the movie they're talking about how everybody loves him, which clearly you could see people during the movie that did not like Superman.
Right.
So apparently that was not the generalized decision that everybody was like, oh yeah, Superman's a great guy.
I mean, and his ploy to do everything was let's kidnap Lois Lane and Superman's mother and threaten to kill his mom. But to get you there, I'm going to chuck Lois off a building.
And he's going to randomly appear out of nowhere.
He's going to randomly appear, save her, and then he's going to come back to beat the out of Lex Luthor. And then Lex Luthor is just going to be like, by the way, I got your mom. I'm going to sit here and talk to you for like 10 minutes. Because now you had an hour to save your mom, but now you got to go kill Batman, bring me his head. Otherwise your mom burns with a flamethrower.
Lex's plan even got more convoluted because then he's like, he breaks into the ship and steals Zod's fingerprints and does some crazy shit with that and basically engineers Doomsday in the ship, which obviously doesn't happen that way in the comics, that he's just like, cool, let's
Using
do this
his
one.
blood.
Which, yeah, I mean...
was odd.
I mean, I know Lex has made clones and shit.
And he took him
other stuff. But
what she called it something, the regeneration chamber or something. Like I forget what the computer called it. But basically,
and they made an abomination.
all Lex Luthor had to do to take over the ship, mind you, the ship that is stuck in the middle that was commanded by Zod.
Fingerprints. That was it.
To get into the ship took fingerprints, and then does it on the door.
Is this Ocean's 11?
Yeah. he literally had fingerprints. And then glued them to his fingers and then put his hand on there.
I'm pretty sure I've seen more impossible things on Mission Impossible movies to break into. And then you have alien technology.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
fingerprints
boop,
are
no voice recognition because, dear Lord, another set of friggin' encryption would not help in case you have an alien break into your friggin' ship.
So, uses fingerprints, gets inside, and all he does, he walks into the water. There's like a bunch of water for whatever reason. So there's a bunch of water with some lights coming up from it. It looked like pool lights. They were big, but they were just lights coming through the water. Goes into the water, and there's that little thing with the...
little robot thing.
But it had the...
the key? Where you put the key
thing, the Superman key thing. It's got that, and he basically takes it out, and he goes... sticks it in, and then it goes, would you like to assume command? And he's like, yeah, sure. And
yes,
then,
please.
Yeah, he's like, yes, I would. And then she's like, okay, welcome. What do you want to do? Here's all the archives from like 150 planets.
Which he just, listened to and absorbed all within like 5 seconds because he's like, show me. And they're like, skip a scene.
Yeah, that's it. Like, show me and then nothing.
Which I don't think he saw that many planets worth of information in 2 seconds. Not alone, I don't know why the computer would know Clark Kent is his real name.
Yeah. And then the next time we see him, she's calling him by his name. She's like Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, really? Like, she's just gonna be cool with it? I thought you were just Zod a second ago when you were coming in. You push on the button and now you're okay to take over the... There's been very few Superman movies besides the one with Richard Pryor that I was sitting there going like this. And I was just kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe what they're doing to this. Like,
I would have rather had Bizarro Superman than have Doomsday, and Doomsday just be this weird creature who looks like an orc from Lord of the Rings, who just randomly grows horns and absorbs energy all the time, and it was weird.
Ogre.
He
looked like an ogre.
Yeah, he was friggin' weird.
Like the big ogres in The Hobbit.
Yeah.
The ones that are like sitting around talking about eating Bilbo.
Oh yeah. And they're arguing about who wants to eat
they're
him.
all stupid. Like, that's exactly what Doomsday looked like.
Me wants to eat him.
He wants to eat him. That is exactly what he looked like. Except the more you with him, the more he digivolves into a bigger version.
A bigger piece
of So every time you shoot something at him or blows up, which realistically it was only fire that was doing it to him.
Yeah.
Because there's one part that we'll talk about in a second, but then there's the other part where he like throws him into all the little tankers, and then he blows up, and then all of a sudden it's like boo, and then it's like a big EMP blast, except it isn't. It's like actual. It's an actual blast that looks like a bunch of electricity.
Yeah.
But then he like grows more crystalline, but it doesn't grow that much. Like you just see like, oh, he's got a little bit of spikes on his arms now. I mean, you look at the original Doomsday and he's like, blah, he's got like a beard of spikes. Like it's super dope.
He is spiky. He's the spiky.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I don't know. I understand he was going. Zack Snyder was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do something different, and he'll look cool and different because I don't want to rip off the original." I would have been okay with it.
At one point, Doomsday is standing on top of a billboard for LexCorp, and you see on the like news screen, you see them talking about, "Oh, Doomsday's on top of the LexCorp thing. What do we do?" And then Superman grabs Doomsday, shoots up into the sky, and he's going into the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
So he goes in the atmosphere, and America is immediately
God
like,
bless him.
President, what do we do? And he's like, God be with them. And I was like, what the hell? And they're like, we will have one casualty, Superman. And the president's like, nah, that ain't a casualty. Launch the nuke. And they launch a nuke immediately into space to blow up Doomsday and Superman. At which point, it blows up on both of them. Yeah. Superman basically holds him there. Doomsday falls to Earth, but Superman stays floating in the sky, which is accurate, and we've discussed.
He gets all crispy and like shriveled because he needs the sun in order to basically refill him, which it does. So I mean that part was all pretty accurate. So good for them on that. But yeah, we were just like, okay, that was your resort. You're gonna go to the nuke first. Like, great job, America. You're a bunch of
super fast.
Yeah. Like, no, let's not let Superman handle it because he saved us the first time. Like, heaven forbid, let the hero that you've been allowing to live in peace and do his own thing just all of a sudden be like, no, he can't handle it. Let's nuke him. Like, I mean, you gave, Doomsday had been there for 5 minutes and they're like, we can't fight him. He's too strong.
Yeah, and then, so after they launch the nuke, basically they go back to the commander guy, the major, and they're like, so... Mr. President, he's unkillable. And
time to give up.
Time to give up. Like, that's it. No more. We got nothing left. So then, obviously, it comes down to Superman and Wonder Woman, who didn't steal the movie.
No.
I did read that she was stealing the movie. She did not.
She had,
The Justice League stole the movie.
Sure.
Completely. The movie is labeled Batman vs. Superman. And like we were talking about, which we have not discussed the battle yet, we barely got any of a fight between Batman and Superman, realistically.
Although, I mean, how long could it actually be, realistically?
It could go very long.
I mean, the way they did it was, pretty, they tried to make it very even-sided, so you'd have, Superman get his shots in, Batman would weaken him, so then Batman can get his shots in, Superman would recover, and it was just on and on until finally Batman decides that he's gonna, have a moment of clarity where just because both of their mother's names are Martha, he's like, oh, you're like a person.
I remember now. Batman, this whole movie, has been like Superman, basically. He's been like, I want to murder Superman, he deserves to die. That's basically how he is.
Even Flash endorsed that he should stop Superman because he's how he feels he is. So how he imagines is actually true.
Yeah, and that was in another dream sequence that he has. The Flash basically comes in.
Which I don't even know if it was a dream. It felt like it was half dream, half...
Yeah, but and then he wakes up, though.
Alternate reality.
It was weird.
It was so weird.
So, basically, the fight kind of went exactly as you would expect. It was Superman kicking his ass. And then Batman's like, oh, nope. Thump. Shoots him with a kryptonite grenade. And so then Superman's like, and then Batman beats up on him for a little bit.
With that classic scene of right where he goes to hit him and Batman blocks it and then Superman's just like, oh, fuck. Which is the
trailer.
Greatest face I've ever seen Superman with.
Yep.
It's pretty great.
So then after that, the fight scenes get more dope. This is where the good fight scenes come in.
Yeah.
Because these are where they all band together and they start working together.
And you get that Batman beat up scene in the warehouse which is pretty great.
Well, yeah, that's what's awesome is Batman basically after that, he's like, all right, cool. He's going ham. And he's like, cool, taking off in his Batwing. So he's like, which was kind of odd shaped. I didn't really understand it. Like, it had that weird platform in the front of it. I don't know. It was weird. And it made noises like the alien ships, which kind of bothered me too. Like, you can't get a different sound for your Batwing. It's got to be like the same whoa, 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 whoa.
They got all this money for all these other things, but they can't afford another sound effect.
One other sound effect for the Batwing. Like, come on, dude. We all know Batman's tech is like rockets. Like, he has like, it's got like that weird sound, but no, you have like the whoa, whoa, whoa sound that the...
It's great.
Anyway, Batman basically, this is probably one of the coolest fight scenes I've seen Batman do, which was perfectly choreographed.
Oh my god, he was kneeing people and slamming people's face and like twirling people.
But he wasn't invincible. That was the best part. Like,
they were stabbing him.
He was still getting hit and he was still getting punched and all that stuff. But he got stabbed.
And he's like,
it was in the arm, but like he did. And then he pulls out the knife and then he stabs another dude with it. I was like, oh, that's sick too.
Which is funny because Zack Snyder came out with a statement saying that he is okay with Batman in his movie killing because it's not correct. It's not like Batman's taking a gun and shooting somebody. It's whoever the bad guy is doing whatever the bad guy does. And if they happen to die due to whatever Batman did to intervene, it's totally okay.
He wanted Batman to continue to kill in an indirect way.
So, spoiler alert, Superman dies, oh no, by Doomsday. What, have you read a comic before? Yeah, that happens. So, it's fine. I mean, here's how I felt about it. Like, you would assume the movie's over, and you're like, okay. And then it would keep going. And then you'd assume the movie's over, and no, it would keep going. And then they were just dragging it out and making more and more scenes, which, I mean, I don't know. It was weird. It just felt very, like, long and too much. I felt like we didn't need as much information. We could have had, like, simple, and they had, like, 3 different funerals for Superman.
Yeah, because they had the funeral for Superman, and then they had the funeral for Clark Kent.
Yeah.
So his mom and, obviously, Bruce Wayne and Wonder Woman and Lois Lane and all them had their funeral for Clark Kent, who is Superman. And then they had the United States had a funeral, but they basically had a funeral as a soldier, so he had the flag and all that stuff on it.
And Batman was like, I failed him in life, but I won't fail him in death. I'm like, how did you fail him in life? You did his one request, you kept his mother alive, so good for you. How did you fail? Because you're a human, you couldn't stop the giant crazy monster thing that had like laser beams?
Which, by the way, during that fight, it was pretty funny to watch Batman because literally all he did in the Doomsday fight was shoot him with a kryptonite grenade.
Yeah.
His one last one, because he only made 3. He only made 3 grenades and a spear, and Batman's basically just standing in the corner like... Yeah, so I can't do shit.
No.
Because, this thing's superhuman. Wonder Woman, on the other hand, badass as movie. Like, I obviously wasn't going to see the movie because of Wonder Woman. Because, I mean, let's be honest, I'm not a huge Wonder Woman fan in that retrospect.
I was glad she was in it, though.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Very good. They even had the lasso. They had... obviously her sword and shield, and she seemed pretty fucking invincible.
The fact that her sword cut through Doomsday, and Doomsday was just like, did that just happen?
Yeah.
Like, that sword is something cool, so I'm excited to see what they do in the Wonder Woman movie.
Because we had no backstory to her whatsoever in this movie.
You see a picture with her and Chris Klein from, like, 1916 or 1917 or something like that, and you're just like, okay, cool, she's in her outfit, and she's been around for 100 years. Like, that's all we know. So,
yeah. And it was awesome, though.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
She did a very good job. And she was, like, the whole fight, she's, like, smiling. Like, she loves it. That was a great portrayal of her, and that sets it up very well, because now I'm going to go into it, like, she loves being a warrior. She loves doing that kind of thing, which is more than any of the other guys, because they all have a purpose.
Yeah.
Her purpose is basically just to be a warrior, which is fantastic.
Yeah. As for Flash, just because this is something I feel irritating for me, is so you pretty much have set up the fact that Flashpoint is eventually going to happen in this DC multiverse, which is cool because you're basically saying that what we're watching right now is one possibility of multiple. But so he appears in this dream-ish like thing to Bruce, and he's like, "Hey, just make sure that you save Lois Lane. She's the key, and Superman's everything you think he is." And then he disappears, and he kind of looks like he's in a suit, but he also kind of looks like he's wearing something else. Like he looked like he was weird. So
it looks like he had like a little, like an Iron Man helmet.
Something, right?
Because he had like the mask on, like the Flash mask.
Yeah. Like
the red. But then on top he had like a piece, and it sounded like as he was going away that it flipped down.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked interesting. So I don't know what exactly timeline Barry's going through, because it borderlined on Injustice for us, like we said in the previous one, like we thought it would. So it was very Injustice-y, especially with the dream sequence with the parademons and like Superman.
That was
basically
really cool.
It was cool.
It was really cool.
It was very post-apocalyptic. There was
once again in a dream sequence, though.
A lot of dreams.
A Batman dream sequence. Because apparently Batman can predict the future. Or he can see the other universes.
Yes, which is weird because technically that's, if you guys watch Flash, they have Cisco who can vibe and basically can get different realities and different things like that.
But why is Batman the key?
Batman can't do that, which is weird. So
ever.
It's not, that was weird to me. But the fact that they had Flash basically telling him this, and then they never make reference to it again. It was just like, hey, here's this for a second. Because Lois never is in any danger of dying, and the only time she is, Superman saves her. It wasn't Batman that did it. So something else that's really interesting that we just found out is that they are going to be having a rated R version that comes out around July 16th.
It's the Ultimate Cut. Just
the Ultimate Cut.
Similar to the Watchmen Ultimate Cut that
which
came
was
out,
great.
Which is the one that everyone said is the best cut of Watchmen. It's almost... people have even gone so far as to say that the original theatrical version of Watchmen isn't even worth watching if you're going to watch it for the first time. You want to watch the Ultimate Cut because that's the way the director intended it. It's got deleted scenes, it's got
like 20 to 30 minutes extra stuff, which is great.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the same route they're going with this one.
Apparently the Batman Superman version is going to be 3+ hours long, which the movie in itself was already, 2 hours and 45 minutes?
Yeah.
It was pretty long. So this one's going to be 3 hours plus, and it's going to feature more carnage, basically more visceral things, and supposedly, possibly nudity in it, which I was kind of excited for. Who isn't excited for that?
Plus, they are supposed to have Jenna Malone in her mystery role as either Barbara Gordon or Carrie Kelly, which either way they go about it, I think will be cool. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out even which Robin they were talking about when they had the suit that said, haha, joke's on you, Batman. Could be Dick Grayson, could be Jason Todd.
Batman has that hung up in the Batcave.
Yeah.
As he's going up the stairs, there's a glass case there that has a Robin suit that's got that written.
So, if eventually that's going to lead to either, some crazy stuff with Red Hood, that would be cool. Obviously, I don't know how far they're going to go with Batman and stuff like that, but he's eventually going to get his own standalone
Were they
film.
involved during the Justice League?
See, that's the whole... Yes, but the plot's so messed up now because you're taking old Batman into...
I guess, in a sense, that makes anything possible. Because it's so convoluted and because the timeline's so messed up, we have possibilities now. There's a lot of things that they could bring to light that change things around. Like, if they were to introduce Carrie Kelly, granted, I would not want her to be part of the Justice League.
No.
But you could introduce them as a character.
Yeah. Well, they might do what they do with the DC animation movies now, is where you have your movie, like let's say you have a Batman movie, and it's all very self-contained, and you have your key player, so Batman, who is also involved in the Justice League movies, but they keep everything very separate still, which is cool. So you could have your Robin, your Batgirl, your Nightwing, all that stuff in there, but then once you have a Justice League movie, it's just your main hard hitters, which I think will be cool if they can go that route. I feel more optimistic than I did yesterday, though.
I feel more optimistic about the future.
Yeah.
I was very scared about Wonder Woman. I was
Yeah.
very scared. I was very scared it wasn't going to be depicted properly. I was scared that she wasn't going to be as badass as she was. I was afraid that it was going to be about her, like the movie was going to be hugely about her.
They
All of those
utilized
things
her well.
were completely wrong. It was fantastic. They did her very well. And like I said, their portrayal of the characters was the best part.
Yeah,
That was. It really was. Like, I would watch that movie again just specifically so that I could see those characters. Because all those characters that I love, because I'm a Justice League fan. I love Justice League. I loved watching the show. That was my childhood.
Yeah.
Their portrayal of those characters in that movie was fantastic. I felt the nostalgia for it. I was watching it and I did feel it. So I did get my Superman fix. I did get my Batman fix.
Mission accomplished.
I did enjoy the movie as much as I hated the plot.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Overall, I would say I would give the movie, I don't know, probably a C plus, B minus. Like, I know he's going to disagree. I personally liked it better than Man of Steel, but definitely not my favorite superhero movie. I feel like there's elements that were really good, but overall, yeah, no.
I'm going to give it a B. A B.
Solid B?
A B to a B plus. Only because the movie clearly was a good movie in the sense that it was well done. The characters were great. The only element of the movie, which pretty much is the whole movie, was the plot. The plot of the movie was not there. It was not Batman versus Superman.
No.
We only got one scene where it was Batman versus Superman. Everything else was just building up to why Batman hates Superman or is pissed off. And the whole reason that he did hate Superman was because of his dreams.
So that was our rant, and you can catch us next time on our special edition of our rant on Our Color on the Comic.